Hello all and welcome to the channel all about economic board games. Today I'm going to be giving you a run through of one of my favourite games, Imperial 2030, brought to you by designer Matt Gertz, PD Verlag, the publishers, and I've recently done an overview on this game, so if you want to see this game in less time, then go and watch that one. Today I'm on my own and I'll be reenacting a two-player game. Now, I'm not doing a full game, I'll probably do about 6 or 7 rounds as it's called, so hopefully give you a really good insight. Now, this is a game that will typically take about 2 to 3 hours. It plays 2 to 6 players and it does work really well with 2 player as well. I've had 3 or 4 games of 2 player and I've had a lot of fun out of it. I'd probably say about that 3 to 5 player is excellent, and 6 players I've yet to try but would probably be a little bit hectic. So what is happening then? You've got this global map and we are investors, and you're investing in these bonds in these 6 nations which are distributed across the globe, and you're trying to get paid interest. You can see if you buy this one from India, it's going to cost you 4 and you're going to get interest of 2, and you get a ratio of about 50%, and you're trying to get the most wealth because when the game is triggered, the end here, as soon as someone gets this multiplier of 5, the game ends, you add up points, well not points, but you add up your money you've acquired throughout the game and you times the power number, this is called, so times 4 based on your interest, which will make a lot more sense shortly. So let's get straight in then. To start with, each province or each nation has got these factories. You can see I've set them up on the square spots, and you've got extra capacity to build more as well. The brown ones will produce these little tanks here, which are for sort of fighting on the land. And you've got these ships as well, which will be produced from the blue ones. Now, it's not a military game, I promise. This is an investment economic game. And each nation starts with 2 of the factories. So that's a bit of the setup. You get these tokens here for the tax track. You've got the rondel, which is where all the actions happen. And you've got these tokens for the power at the top. Each nation starts with some money. Now, it's just out of view of the camera, but just below these flags, so you've got, well, let's call these guys player 1, and we've got player 2. They start with these nations, and just below them, they've already got some shares to begin with, because each flag will tell you, you start with a 9 million on Russia, 2 million on Europe as well. So, but I'll show you those as we go through. So the start token is on Russia, and it's going to be going clockwise, and then it's going to be coming back and round. So to begin with Russia, this player has the majority of Russian bonds, and you can see here they've got a value of a 2 and a 9, which gives them 11, and player 2 hasn't actually got any bonds in Russia. So they are the government of this nation because they have the most influence. And in this game, it's important to distinguish that you can be a governor of a nation and take control of their funds, but you also have your own private money, which you keep secret, because that's what you're using to buy these bonds throughout the game and try and take ownership of different nations. So this player 2 is in charge of the government of Europe, but throughout the game that might swap and change as we go along. So Russia is going to move on this rondel, so they take the purple token. They can go wherever they want to begin with, and we're going to go to factory, which is always a good start. So looking at Russia, we can build a brown factory on this circle, brown spot, or we can build a marine on the blue one. I think we're probably going to go for a blue one. Let's go for a bit of Navy force today. So we take 5 million out of the government's fund, and that goes to the bank, which is just on the side here, and that is their go done. Over to China, which is player 2. They can equally go on the same spot if they want, factory, or they can go anywhere. I think we're just going to go to produce, show you that one. So production, you can see the yellow province here for China. They've got the brown and blue factory, so we'll go and get them a tank, which goes next to the factory, and we've got the ship, which goes in port. Now, importantly, when it's in port, it can actually fight tanks whilst they're safe. An enemy tank, let's just take one from India, if I can get it out of there. So imagine this tank here goes into China. That can actually fight this one here, which is a bit quirky, a ship firing its artillery at a tank. But once it's out of port, it's in the sea then, and then it can take on other ships and it can move tanks through it as well. So we've produced, that was literally it. Now production doesn't actually cost you anything. Import does though, and I'll do import as an example. So we're going over to India, and let's put straight on import. Now this is a pretty poor move for them to do first off, because it's going to cost them money, but this move would be really great if an opponent, say China, would come into India and they were not friendly, they're attacking, so you do get a choice. So that means that that factory can't produce for India, and more importantly, they can't claim tax on it, which will make sense shortly. So in this case, they'd go to import and they can buy up to 3 things, so a combination of ships or tanks, and they're going to be paying 1 million per item out of the government's funds. So let's just do that, give you an example, and they can go 1 ship there, and these can go anywhere you want. Now in each of these nations, so yellow, purple, etc., it's classed as a railway network. So Russia, when they produce a tank there, when they go to maneuver, they can move anywhere they want in the railway network first, and then they can go in an adjacent spot. So at the moment, because someone is, China in this case, is attacking a part of India, that railway network it ceases, so they can't actually go where they wish. They'll have to go individual spots. So let's resume. That's India done. Brazil. Now you can see in a 2-player game, it's very interesting because these guys have got control of 3 governments, and same here. So you're kind of having to figure out where you want to put your forces, how you're going to take charge of certain parts of the world. And whilst we're talking about the globe itself, so each nation, you've got Brazil, America, Europe, Russia, China and India. Now these beige areas, those you can take control of, and you can put these tokens on. So if India moves out onto East Africa with a tank at some point, they get a token for claiming that territory, and these interchange throughout the game depending on who has the most influence. You can also take control of the seas, and as I say, this is all about tax, and the more influence you have out on the board, the more income you're going to get for tax, which is great because it gives you more money in your government, which gives you the capability to buy more factories, to get more production, and then you can use this lovely investor spot that'll make sense shortly to claw back some of that money, because you're an investor at the end of the day, and for doing such a good job, you want to be getting your interest from these bonds you've been buying. So we are on Brazil, and we're going to go and build a factory as well. So they go on that spot there. We will build, I think we'll build a marine as well, so we can plonk that there. And we're going to take 5 million out of their government, and that goes to the bank. USA. So I think we're going to produce. So red's going to go to production. Now you'll see there's 2 options on the rondel here to go to. Let's just go to this one. We'll see how that alters the strategy slightly. So they produce a ship in port and a tank. And Europe will go and produce as well. So it's a pretty slow start, but once you have done a bit of production, you can then start manoeuvring, you can claim territories. So we've gone full circle back to Russia. And where are we? So they've built a factory, they're going to produce. So now they have the capability to produce 3 things, because they got an extra factory they built on the last round. So we've got a tank, and we've got a shipping port and a shipping port up there. Over to China. Now, Russia were here. Well, I'll show you of China. So it says here you can move 1 to 3 fields for free. So China can theoretically go 1, 2, 3, and they can do any of these actions they want, or they can pay 1 million per extra spot, and they can go up to a maximum of 6. So they could reach that taxation spot. And you also have to consider that later on in the game, as your token moves up, so at the moment yellow are on 0, so they're in this times 0 spot, if you can just about see that. So they don't pay any extra for moving forward, but if they're doing really well and they're up here, you can see they're in the times 3 zone, so they could go 1, 2, 3 for free. But if they wanted to go to extra spot, it's going to cost them the 1 mil plus 3 million, because they're in the times 3 zone. So bear that in mind. It's kind of helps prevent a runaway leader effect, I guess. So what are China going to do? They have produced, and I shouldn't have moved that in there. That will go back. And those, yep, they did have those. So we're going to maneuver. So you get to move and maneuver each item, so China in this case, each yellow one spot. So they can move this out of port into this China Sea here. So you see you got the boundaries as well. And I think these lines mean you can go through there. They're not kind of different seas. We could if we wanted to. So again, we've got this railway network, so we can move anywhere we want. And then we can move adjacent into this one here. Let's just say they're going to go through this ship, which you can do. And they could go to the Philippines. I think that's about it, really. Let's just go to the Philippines. So you can move one tank through one ship just once on that turn, and you can do it again on future turns. And we're going to go there. So they're going to put out some, just destroying the board. So for going in the China Sea, they're going to get some of these tokens. So we've got one in the China Sea because they have the most influence in this neutral spot, and we're going to get one in the Philippines as well because no one's there, and that will make a lot more sense after when we do the tax. Over to India, so they can move up to 3 spots. They have produced, so we're going to go maneuver. Well, actually they did import, didn't they? So they've got a few more goodies on the board. Maneuver. We will bring this one out of port, which is going to give them a tax token. And we're going to move these. Let's go and cause a bit of bother down here. So that's that one. So you move one spot, remember. So we'll go to Afghanistan. So India slowly getting a bit more influence out there. Over to Brazil. Now they built a factory in the last round, so we're just going to go one forward and we're going to produce. This time we've got an extra factory, means we get an extra ship in this case. There we go. And USA, let's go and maneuver. So we're going to come out of port. Let me just tidy up a little bit here, a bit of spillage. So they've come out of port, which means they get an influence token, and they're going to move this tank to Mexico. Now, interestingly, on this board, which is a lovely addition compared to the original Imperial, is you've got the Suez Canal and you've got the Panama Canal. Now, if you control North Africa, so let's just say India's got that, they can control which ships move through here. So say Europe was here and they wanted to come through, it's up to the Indian player there, which is a nice bit of negotiations. And that equally applies for the Panama Canal. So if you're in Colombia, let's just say Brazil's there and America want to get through. If you haven't got good relations, then no chance you're not getting through. So I really like that. And also on the board, you'll see Switzerland, which is neutral in this game. You also got these Swiss tokens, so you can't actually land on that spot. You can't land on Greenland. Anywhere with a name is somewhere you can go. So that's not an island, but that's a name example. And a Swiss bank. So you'll notice in the 2-player, it's very rare that a player is not going to have governance over one of these nations. And in a sort of 5 or 4, 5, 6-player game, the odds are you might not actually have control of a government. And in that case, you'll take one of these tokens, which gives you an opportunity to buy a bond when that situation occurs, which will be happening very soon. So America have been, and Europe will maneuver as well. So we're going to come out of port into the North Atlantic and we're going to go over to Ukraine. Back over to Russia. So Russia will equally maneuver. So it is a bit of a slow start, folks, here, but I'll maneuver, so we'll move this. So here we go, we've got a bit of action for you. We've moved out of port and they've come into the North Atlantic. Now they've got a choice. They're the guys who've entered it. Are they going to be friendly or are they going to attack? They're going to be friendly, I believe. You put it face down on its side. But your opponent, in this case Europe, has the option to still attack, or they can be friendly. And you can have a bit of a negotiation in this game. So they are on different teams. Russia's player 1, Europe's player 2. Let's just say they're both friendly because they've had a little negotiation and Russia's planning to come down and attack. Well, who are they going to attack? Maybe Brazil or something. But if they didn't do that, Russia was naughty. They came in like, right, I'm attacking. Combat in this game is literally 1 for 1. So 1 for 1, out of the game. Now let's go with that as a final action. Now you can see that the European flag stays there, but if another Russian ship came out, they have the majority, so that would then change to a Russian flag, and you can get some weird scenarios where, let's just say, China managed to come all the way up here and China was the one left, so it was like this. Russia came in, these two went out, then that changes to a Chinese one because they got the most influence there. So yeah, be careful of who's in your territories. Right, so manoeuvre, we did that one, and we're going to move this out. So same again with combat. If they wanted to go in Ukraine here, it's 1-for-1, but Europe would remain the influence there. They're going to go into Kazakhstan instead. China. So we're going to have to cross this magical red line now. Now this is to do with investment. You can either land on the investor spot, which triggers the, let me remind myself. So number one, so that's where the interest is paid out, which if it is China's go, we're going to see how much money they got. Yeah, go on, we'll do interest. So yellow is going to land on the investor spot. Now, if you do so, like I say, you're going to be doing part 1, 2 and 3. If you only pass it, so you pass the red line and you want to do something else but you don't land on it, you're doing option 2 and 3. So what are these options? Number 1 is the interest is paid out from the players holding the nation. So in this case, the government of China is going to pay this money. Now, you can't quite see, as I say, but player 1 hasn't actually got any bonds in China. So this is a great opportunity for player 2 to actually claw some money back out of the government to their own private funds. And in this case, they got this one, and it totals 5 million back in interest. So literally 5 million comes out of the government into the pocket of this player. Now, number 2. Now, I should show you this board, actually. It's really nice. It gives you all the information you need on the movement and each area, where the money goes. So really handy player aid. So option 2 is the owner of the investor card, which is just out of view, this one here. There's only the one card, and I'll turn it over to the English side. That player with it, so the person opposite Russia starts with it, they get 2 million. So we'll get 2 million from the bank. And just out of view, you can see this player starting to get their funds, which is kept secret. You then pass this investor card clockwise, so it's going to go to this player. And then you get a chance to buy a bond, the player who had the card. And if anyone did have these Swiss bank things as well, because they didn't have any ownership, they get a chance as well. So this player now, player 2, they're going to buy a bond. Now they've got 9 million. Nice little juicy payout from China there, 5. How have they ended up with 9? Must have got 2 million from, oh yeah, they got 2 million from the investor card as well. So what they can do now is buy any one of these bonds with the figure at the top right, and they're probably thinking, right, can I sneak ownership of one of these guys as one of their governments? What are we going to do? Shall we go for, maybe they fancy a bit of America? Let's just go with that one. So they can afford up to 9. And I think the most they can buy is this 6 here. You can see it goes 4, 6, 12, 16, 20, 25 and 30. Now there is a lot of strategy as to which one you should pick. You can see the percentages work their way down from 50% for this one all the way down to 30%. So if you go for some of the tiddlers, it gives you a little bit of power players to just ousting your opponents slightly when they get some of the bigger ones, or you might want to get one of the big ones if you can afford it, and then that's gone. Then your other players are going to have to get a 25 and maybe a 6 just to oust you. So in this case, they can only afford the 6, but the key here is now that when player 1 goes and lands on investor to pay interest, this player 2 is also going to get some money back. Now we have to do a check to see if they've got control of the government. So 6 plus the 2 is 8, and player 1 has a value of 9. So they still remain in charge of the actions of the government and the rondel. And that was literally the purchase for these guys who did China. We did 1, 2 and 3. Lovely. Over to India. Now India are going to do, shall we do taxation? What have we got? 2, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, we'll do taxation just to show you how this works. So what we do in taxation, let me get this right. So number 1, you get 2 million for each unoccupied factory. Now remember I said that if China had been there, that would have been occupied, but in the case we're fine. So you get 2 million. 2 plus 2 is 4, and then you get 1 million for each of these flags. So we've got the 4 there, plus the 1, plus the 1, plus the 1. It's going to give you a total of 7. You then move up, so in this case it's India's token. You go see the numbers at the top, so 6 and 8. You didn't quite make the 8, so you leave it on the 6. You're going to get a bonus of 1 million from, let me remind myself where that actually comes from the nation to the player. So India is going to pay, who's India? This player here. So you get a little bonus as an investor for having done such a good job, and then you influence the power. Now, before I run ahead of myself, we also have to pay for the soldiers. So you can see that to expand and get more influence across the board, they use this military might. So you would have got 7 million from the bank. So let's just get that. You minus the cost of your military, in this case 3 million, so it's actually only 4 million they're getting from the bank. You then pay the bonus, so I skipped ahead there, so you get the money from India to yourself, having done a good job, and then you add the power. So you can see this 4 million now goes into the government of India, which is great. As I said earlier, you get to buy more factories and maybe import if you need to, or get that money back out when you go on this investor spot to give you the funds to buy more bonds. So we then do the power. So you can see this +1 means that that black token will go at 1 spot. Now this is a cumulative. You can never go down on the power. There's no way to lose it. And it kind of really escalates as you get further on in the game, because you can see as you let a player get more tokens out, you know, if you get up to this 15 spot, you're suddenly getting +8 on the power and you start really skipping ahead. So over to Brazil, they're going to maneuver. They've got all this military might, so we're going to bring one out here, and we're going to move this tank into Colombia because we get control of the Panama Canal. Oh, I just realized they're in that nation, so we could potentially have a battle here. So America, Brazil, they are on opposite teams, and yeah, let's have a battle. I think the Brazilians want to kick up a bit of a fuss. That token does stay there. Remember, 1 for 1, most influence. And over to USA, who have got no real military force. I think they are going to go 1, 2, 3 and produce. And we're going to have another ship and another tank. Over to Europe. Where are we? So they're going to have to pass the red line. Now, rather than land on it, I'm just going to show you how it works if you pass it. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3 over to production. We're going to produce first before I forget. We've got 1 ship in port. And we got 1 tank. So you only do options 2 and 3 this time, so you don't do any of the interest. Option 2 is this player is going to get 2 million because they own the card, and that's from the bank. You pass it over, and then you get to buy a share. So player 1 has 5 million. Now, before you could see that player 2 was encroaching on player 1's influence number for America, so they might want to pull ahead a little bit, but they've only got 5 million. And looking at America's bonds, they can only buy this tiddler, which gives them a little advantage. Or maybe they just want to start concentrating on something else. You know, you've also got to consider how much funds is left in here. If you've kind of made them bankrupt for a little while, is it worth holding on because you can't get the money out of it from the interest? We will. Who looks rather wealthy? Well, these guys haven't actually got anything invested in China, so I think they're going to go and buy a bond in China. So the 2 million comes out of their personal fund into the government of China. You're investing your money into the bonds of that nation. Now, every time player 2 goes and lands an investor for tax, you can see these guys are going to get 2 million as well, which is nice. Now, some games I've played, you don't actually need to govern as much as you might think, because as long as you keep a close eye on your opponents and play second fiddle almost, and you sort of keep up with how much influence they've got, just being second, you can average yourself off and end up getting these nice multipliers, or even just focusing on who's pushing ahead and get bonds in that. So black's all the way up here, no one else has managed to move a lot. You're like, right, I'm going to get Indian bonds, and that's how you might sort of sneakily win the game, as well as hiding some of that wealth you've acquired from various parts of play. So we are over to Russia. and they're equally going to pass the investor spot. It's not really worth... Oh, it is worth them landing on it, I think, because they're the player one's the only people who actually have shares, or bonds should I say, in it. So step one, they're going to get interest, so 5 million from the government, and they've got 6 there, so one change. Now, if there was no money there, or there was part of the money there, that government would have to pay out the other players first if they've got bonds, and then they'd have to pay the remainder money that they couldn't afford out of their own private funds. So, you know, it's not unlimited. You will have to pay for that spot. So we've done that and we've landed on it. So these guys are going to get 2 million from the bank, and they also get a chance to buy a share. That swaps over. Now, these guys had a nice payout earlier from, I think it was China, was it? Yep. So they're going to get 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11 million to spend. They don't have to buy something, and you can only buy one thing. Now, I should say, I'll just give you an example in this case. They're going to go for American dominance. Now, you can buy one of these outright. That's fine, just one. Or you can upgrade one of these. So we could upgrade 11 million. So 11 plus the 6, 17. We could go for this lovely 16. So we're going to do that. So we've put back this 6, and the difference from the 16 to the 6 is just the 10 million to pay. So we'll pay that 10 million, get one change, and remember that money goes into the US economy, so they're now thriving. And we, importantly, add up our influence. 16 plus the 2 is 18. These guys have only got 9. The power has swapped hands. These guys now have the flag, which is crucial because they get to control what America does. They're going to produce, build more factories. Are they just literally going to go straight back to this invest spot, which you can see is coming up, and just get their money back? So we have done Russia. Let's over to China. They're going to go and produce. I think they need a bit more military power there. Over to India, they're going to go for a factory, so they're going to pay 5 million. That goes to the bank, and we'll build that one there. I really want to get to America because I want to show you that investor spot. So Brazil. Brazil are going to have to pass it as well, and I think we're going to go to production, and we'll produce first. We've got an extra factory, which really pays dividends, folks, over the whole game. If you build a couple of factories first, you're in good stead. So we pass the red line. So these guys get 2 million, and they get a chance to buy something. This passes over. These guys have got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So they could try and buy something back to overtake these guys from America. But we're not going to do that. We are going to get a bit of Europe, maybe. I think, to be honest, folks, it's difficult playing 2 players with just myself. So I'm not doing the best strategy. Hopefully, I'm just giving you a really good insight as to what is going on. So how much did I say we had? 2, 4, 6, 10. Just going to buy this 6 for now. So there we are, 6 million into that economy. We've got a tally of 8. They've got a tally of 9. So we still haven't got enough influence to take this one. USA. So USA are here. They're going to go straight on to invest. They are going to pay out from this money that they pretty much just put in themselves. They're going to pay out their opponents first. This guy's going to get 4 million. So they're really happy. And themselves are going to get 7, 6 and the 1. So they put in how much before? 10, and they're already getting 7 million back. So you can see how you can coerce this game into your favour. So that's that. Option 2 is they're equally going to get 2 million from the bank for having the investor card. They're going to pass that over, and they get to buy a share. Now look how much money they've acquired. Literally, they spent 10 million and only had 1 million on the previous turn. They've manipulated it, and now they've got an extra 9. And that's really how you can sway the game. So they got 10 million, and I'm going to call it there, folks, because I could literally play this all night. I'm having a bit of fun here. So they could go and buy someone else for 10 million now. A couple of things I haven't really noted is you can destroy factories. So if you wanted to destroy this one here, they could send 3 tanks and destroy it. What have I missed? Now, just a quick comparison to Imperial. This one I think is slightly superior for me. It just the text is nicer. There's a lot more neutral areas on the board. The money's nice. It's got a nice theme to it, and I think just the global aspect to the whole game. You know, you're controlling China. You got America. I've had so much fun with being very thematic with the game. You know, you pretend you're Putin at the top here, or Trump, or Obama, whoever, and it's this you know, or China versus America with these sort of import tariffs, and your negotiations you go on. So a lot of fun. And the key really to the game is, so I guess I should probably explain to you how it's going to end, is that as you tax more, so let's just say everyone in the world kind of neglects what India's up to, and they kind of get all this influence out here. Remember, you're going to be going, when you go to tax, you're going to go 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. That's their influence, which is how they get the income across the board. They're going to move up to here, 13. You as an investor get 3 million, and you go 6 up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And as you keep doing that through the game, you know, India streaks ahead, these guys are down here, and basically whoever triggers game end, which is when you get to this ×5 at the top, that is it, game over. You add up all the money you've got in your own personal supply, nothing to do with what's in the government's, and then you multiply. So let's just say the game ended now. These guys with China, they've got 5, because these big numbers, 5 times the yellow token for China is in the ×2 zone. So 5 times 2 is 10 points, or 10 million money, however you look at it, for these bonds. And they do that with every single one. So America, 7 times 3 is 21. They've got only the 1 times the 5 for India. You add up all that, add your money, and that is the winner. So really crucial as to how you allow your opponents to gain influence as you are playing. You also can pick up these nice bonuses, and the crux of the game really is this rondel and how you manage it. You could see at the beginning of the game, some players might decide to go to this side or this side because you got double up on the maneuver, double up on the production, but there's only single ones on the other 4 actions there. And that is it. I really enjoy this game. Matt Gertz has changed my life. It surprisingly works really well with 2 players. It gives you more options to do things, because in the 3, 4, 5 play games I've had, occasionally you're left with this Swiss bank, and you know, you can feel a bit neglected as everyone else is you know, taking control of this power. There we are, folks. Enjoy.